Welcome back to our channel where we provide updates and undisclosed narratives on Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. We provide you with the exciting news Prince William and King Charles no longer speaking. After Bombshell interview on TV, an insider source has said that King Charles is very displeased with Prince William's disclosure of his perspectives about a new monarchy that excludes the Sussex family, offers no position for Prince Andrew in the UK, and omits Camilla and her family from the royal family. The source said that King Charles and Prince William are now in a state of no longer on speaking terms. This film will explore recent developments inside the royal family as the heir's aspirations clash with the king's vision. An unprecedented rift that threatens to disrupt the fundamental foundations of the contemporary British monarchy has resulted in a deep quiet between King Charles III and his successor, Prince William. This silence has been a source of concern for both parties. A move that Buckingham Palace has perceived as a blatant and grievous betrayal is the Prince of Wales's stunningly open interview with actor Eugene Levy for his Apple TV Plus travel series. According to royal sources, the father and son are no longer on speaking terms as a result of the interview. Shockwaves have been sent through the royal household as a result of the breakdown in communication, which was described as a full-on freeze by a senior courtier. The royal household is already dealing with the ongoing treatment of the king's cancer as well as the persistent challenges posed by Prince Harry and Prince Andrew. A constitutional Cold War has broken out as a result of a series of simmering conflicts about the management of the family's public image. This conflict pits the current monarch against the future king in a struggle for the institution's very essence and the path it will take in the future. The depth of the rift, the strategic public relations battle that is currently being waged behind palace walls, and the grave concerns that this familial estrangement could inflict lasting damage on the crown at its most delicate moment in decades, are all revealed in this exclusive report, which was pieced together from sources within Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace, and trusted royal correspondents. An interview that started the firestorm, that followed an episode of The Reluctant Traveler, a popular series created by Eugene Levy and available on Apple TV Plus, ended up being the impetus for the situation. Prince William participated in what was characterized as a personal reflection on duty parenthood and the future during a piece that was taped at one of the private houses owned by the Prince of Wales. On the other hand, the substance of the conversation went way beyond the harmless platitudes that one would anticipate from a senior royal. William, who was guided by Levy's disarmingly sympathetic questioning, talked with an unparalleled level of candor on the strains of a royal boyhood. He made reference to the immense weight of expectation and the difficulty of sculpting a personal identity within the context of a preordained public duty. His pointed words about his wish to be a more emotionally present parent for his own children were generally received as a subtle critique of his own childhood. Although he never openly chastised his father, his remarks were widely seen as a criticism of his own upbringing. From the king's point of view, the comprehensive statements that William made on the future of the monarchy were even potentially more detrimental. It was said by the Prince of Wales that the institution must constantly earn its place in the 21st century, and he also made a veiled reference to the fact that considerable changes would be implemented during his future reign. The need for some historical traditions, which he apparently considers to be playing dress-up, was called into question by him, and he underlined the importance of a future that prioritizes impact over pageantry. The king's camp sees it as a calculated political move, a source close to Buckingham Palace disclosed. William framed it as a personal journey, the source said. It is considered to be the height of disrespect to go on a global streaming platform and essentially outline your manifesto for a new-look monarchy while the current monarch is not only still reigning, but also battling a serious illness, the speaker said. Charles is in a rage. He considers it to be dishonesty rather than honesty. The immediacy and completeness of the stillness that followed was remarkable. Additionally, another royal source stated that there would be no calls, texts, or secret encounters. At this time, all communication that is required is being carried out by means of private secretaries exclusively. A full-on freeze has developed as a result of the rift. A history of tensions that have settled down. Royal experts and insiders highlight that this spectacular separation is the culmination of months, if not years, of developing ideological and strategic differences between father and son. Although the interview with Apple TV Plus was the immediate cause, this dramatic breakdown is the direct result of this divergence. The continuing dramas between Prince Harry and Prince Andrew have been two key points of contention from the beginning. Since a long time ago, Prince William has maintained a position that is unyielding and uncompromising with respect to his brother Prince Harry. The individual is of the opinion that any compromise or public reconciliation with the Duke of Sussex would simply encourage further drama madness and leaks, which will ultimately be detrimental to the institution. It has been confirmed by sources inside Kensington Palace that Prince William was adamantly opposed to the idea of King Charles agreeing to meet with Prince Harry on his shorter trips to the United Kingdom. Dr. Brittany Hughes, a well-respected royal analyst and director of the Royal News Network, argues that William has the impression that his judgment has been frequently validated. From his point of view, he cautioned his father that if he engaged in conversation with Harry, it would result in a media circus, and that is exactly what transpired. It is William's opinion that the institution must be defended at whatever cost, even if it means breaking personal relationships. He believes this to be the case. According to him, it is an issue of maintaining professional discipline. On the other hand, King Charles has had a difficult time reconciling his duty as king with his role as a parent through his struggles. The realistic business-like approach that William and his staff want to take has often come into conflict with his wish to maintain some kind of contact with his younger son. One of Charles's former assistants makes the observation, "You have to understand Charles is of a different generation. He experiences the anguish of the family rift on a level that is very personal to him. However, William is more concerned with the long-term strategic ramifications for the crown, despite the fact that he is also harmed. It is his perception that his father's emotion is a disadvantage." The management of Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, has been characterized by the same dynamic that has been described. Despite the fact that Andrew has not been found guilty of any crime, the fact that he was associated with Jeffrey Epstein, who was convicted of sexual offenses, continues to be a dangerous stain on the image of the monarchy. William and his advisors have been persistent in their efforts to ensure that Andrew is fully and permanently excluded from any area of royal life that involves interaction with the public. There was a perceptible tension in the air at recent family gatherings, such as a funeral ceremony held in Scotland, when William seemed to be obviously uncomfortable with Andrew's presence. An individual with knowledge of the royal family has said that William's team was adamant that their principal should not be seen standing next to Andrew at a public occasion. They consider it to be a pollution of the brand. They cautioned Charles, who is more likely to consider Andrew to be a brother and a blood relative who is deserving of a position at intimate family meetings. Once again, William is of the opinion that his advice was disregarded, and as a consequence, the monarchy was subjected to yet another wave of unfavorable headlines. From the Wales camp, there is a rising sense of, "I told you so," a feeling that Papa got it wrong and should have listened to what they had to say. This concept is elaborated upon by Dr. Hughes, who says, "The manner in which Charles manages Harry and Andrew is representative of his entire reign. The fact that he is reluctant to take definitive action, which may be considered brutal, is seen as a weakness by some. Although he does not want to upset the status quo, he is doing so, and as a result, the boat is being engulfed in controversy. William is of the opinion that in order for the monarchy to continue existing, it must be seen as having distinct borders and harsh repercussions for those who inflict harm upon its reputation. Long ago, he would have removed titles and positions in the line of succession from the line of succession. Because Charles has not taken any action, William is experiencing a great deal of irritation because he believes that he will be the one who is left to clean up the mess. A war for public relations at the palace, Doctor Who, and the struggle for modernity. A rapid and vigorous public relations counter-offensive was mounted by Buckingham Palace in response to the worldwide publicity that was gathered by William's interview. Instead of handing over the narrative of modernization to the Prince of Wales, the team working for the King staged a large feature article that was published in the Daily Telegraph, a daily that is generally pro-establishment. The title of the article read, "How King Charles is Reshaping the Monarchy." Clearly briefed by top palace advisors, the piece aimed to portray the king not as a remnant of the past, but rather as a calm, deliberate revolutionary in his own right. This was the original intention of the article. In it, it was suggested that Charles represents a bridge between old and new, and that he has been steadily and deliberately evolving the royal family to suit the modern world. To describe the shift of power, the author used an unusual parallel, which is the most engaging aspect of the work. According to a top staffer who was reported as stating, "It is surprising how often the words Doctor Who come up when talking about a reign change. The one that comes after this one needs to be completely different, but it just needs to be a little bit the same. The establishment is capable of regenerating itself. This is how it manages to stay alive." A further royal insider elaborated on the parallel by saying, "The mistake that some people made was to think that King Charles could be or would want to be the same as his mother," reminiscent of the regeneration that occurred in Doctor Who. "In the beginning, everyone declares that the new one is not the same as the old one, and as a result, we do not like it. What happens is that when the next one arrives, it is exactly the same as the previous one that happened. It is of the utmost importance that the development of the royal family continues." After that, the article went on to highlight what it considered to be the king's most significant achievements during his brief reign. Charm offensive. Charles has captivated post-Brexit Europe by addressing parliaments in France and Germany in their native tongues, thus enhancing his credentials as a global statesman. This has been accomplished via the diplomatic charm offensive, support for Ukraine. He invited President Zelensky to Buckingham Palace for tea and became the first British monarch to visit Auschwitz to make a passionate address commemorating the 80th anniversary of the camp's liberation. The speech was well received by the audience. Championing diversity. His work with the Windrush generation, which included commissioning portraits for the royal collection, was emphasized as an attempt to acknowledge the contribution that they have made to British society in the face of continuous cultural warfare. However, those who keep an eye on the royal family were quick to point out that the tactic was defensive in character. An experienced royal reporter made the following observation: "It seems to me that it is more of a public relations strategy than something that is founded entirely on the truth." Dr. Hughes is in agreement with the statement that, "When I look at the monarchy right now, I see a lot of holdovers from the time of Queen Elizabeth. There hasn't been a lot of change in my opinion as of yet. The mentioned accomplishments are certainly worthy of praise. Nonetheless, they are exactly the types of responsibilities that Queen Elizabeth would have carried out. These actions are not those of a radical modernizer, but rather those of a traditional monarch. There are others who believe that the public relations campaign exposes a profound lack of confidence inside the king's court. In the early years of Charles's rule, the epithet caretaker king has come to haunt him. This is a title that his friends have always considered to be offensive. For a very long time, the story has been told that Charles would just hold the throne between the adored and long-serving Queen Elizabeth II and a younger and more active King William V and his lovely bride. By emphasizing that Charles is doing a great deal more than that, the reporter in the Telegraph article made a clear effort to debunk the concept that was being discussed. According to Dr. Hughes, the problem for Charles is that William's vision for change is more tangible and relatable to the public. Mr. Hughes makes this observation. There is a resonance with a contemporary audience when William discusses the possibility of a simplified monarchy working during school hours in order to be there for his children and questioning the practices of old rites. A number of Charles's modifications, such as modifying the structure of investiture rituals, are subtle adjustments that are made behind the scenes. It is a feeble argument in opposition to William's considerably more audacious goal, even if it is simply rhetorical. An unfortunate turn of events. A reign that was derailed throughout the whole of the fight. The unavoidable and terrible problem of the king's health serves as the foundation. The discovery of cancer, which came at a time when he was just beginning to find his footing as king, has been a profoundly painful blow, both personally and in terms of his operations. That was an obvious setback to the burning ambition of what he wanted to achieve, a palace insider said with an honesty that was out of character for them. It is a condition that can be managed, and the king is joining the ranks of many people who are living with or recovering from cancer in a happy and healthy manner. However, it has unavoidably dictated a portion of his schedule and reduced his responsibilities that involve public appearances. An additional dimension of poignancy has been added to the ongoing stalemate as a result of this cruel twist of fate, as mentioned by one of my friends. Charles, who had to wait 70 years to rise to the throne, has been deprived of valuable time to leave his imprint as a result of the prognosis they received. When seen from this angle, William's interview might be interpreted as being very inconsiderate, since it essentially begins the clock on the next reign, while the present one is still in its infancy and is being pressured. In spite of this, there is a more pessimistic view that is being discussed in some political and media circles, and that is that William's action was intentionally timed. Understanding the restrictions that his father's illness imposes, the Prince of Wales may have seen an opportunity to express his own vision and begin molding public expectations for his own reign sooner rather than later. This may have been the case because he was aware of his father's condition. One who had previously served as a courtier comments, "It's a more honest take on the situation. In spite of the fact that Charles was a guy who had lofty goals, he was brutally thwarted by a cancer diagnosis, which means that he has not been able to do as much as he had intended to. Buckingham Palace is doing all in its power to avoid being compared to a lame duck, but it is difficult to ignore. There is a great deal of anxiety among them that he would be seen as a figure of transition, and William's interview played directly into that apprehension. A continuation of the Sussex saga with collateral damage. In the midst of the core battle that is taking place between the King and the Prince of Wales, the Sussex problem continues to create damaging side stories. In a recent turn of events, the charitable organization Centabale, which Prince Harry helped to establish, made the announcement that it will be discontinuing its hallmark fundraising polo matches. The decision comes after a contentious internal debate that resulted in Prince Harry's relationship with the charity being officially terminated. The issue was sparked by allegations of bullying and mismanagement, both of which were vigorously refuted by the Sussex organization. As part of its efforts to reposition itself and put some distance between itself and the Duke, the charitable organization, which is now led by Dr. Sophie Chandauka, has announced that it would no longer use the sport as a means of fundraising. In the previous year, the Centabale ISPS Honda Polo Cup, in which Harry took part personally, was responsible for 18% of the total cash that the charity received. Despite the fact that the charitable organization was already working to broaden its sources of income, the public breaking of relations with its most prominent founder and the event that serves as its trademark event is a big blow. The turmoil that follows in the wake of William's brother is shown by this instance, which is yet another illustration for William and his troops. There was always something incongruous about the links between this very high-class elitist sport and a charity meant to be helping some of the most impoverished people in the world, a commentator says. The charity was supposed to be helping some of the most impoverished. In addition, and this is of more significance for the present problem, Charles has been unable to find a solution to this additional difficulty. William's perception that the Sussexes are a persistent wound that his father is unable to treat is strengthened by this information. As a result, the firm is left with a continuous source of negativity in the public eye. Two kings who remain silent regarding the uncertain future. At a time when the future of the British monarchy is fraught with profound unpredictability, the monarchy finds itself in a situation that cannot be maintained. Its current and future monarchs are engaged in a tense and acrimonious standoff. It has been stated that the notion of a carefully orchestrated PR peace walk has been discussed. This would be a combined appearance that is intended to create an image of togetherness, similar to the one that William and Harry performed with their spouses after the death of Queen Elizabeth II. On the other hand, those with knowledge of the situation think that the likelihood of such a reconciliation is quite low. There is no longer any trust, one insider declared in a direct manner. There is more to this than a passing misunderstanding. This is a fundamental debate regarding the function and future of the crown, which is made worse by the fact that it is very hurtful to the individual. A photo op is not going to fix that. Things could not possibly be more important. The public's tolerance with royal infighting is running thin, and the institution is under a great deal of pressure to demonstrate that it is stable and relevant. The health of the king is a continual issue. The very last thing that Britain or the monarchy wants is to have the representation of a father and son or a king and his successor who are unable to even communicate with one another. Although there is a deafening quiet emanating from the palaces, the message is unmistakable. This conflict is more than just a family strife. It is a fight for the throne. On one side, there is King Charles III, a monarch who is deeply rooted in tradition. He is attempting to honor the heritage of his mother while also leaving his own delicate imprint, all while competing with the most significant personal difficulty he has ever faced in his life. On the other hand, there is Prince William, the contemporary heir, who is both realistic and determined. He is of the opinion that the monarchy must undergo dramatic transformation in order to survive, and he seems reluctant to wait for his time to start the revolution. An experienced watcher of the royal family came to the conclusion that the Queen's great success was in keeping the family's private dramas largely private. At this point, the divides are not just visible to the public, they are the primary focus of the narrative. The issue is no more how the monarchy will develop. Rather, it is whether it will be able to resist the very public process of its own renewal. This is because two monarchs have chosen to remain silent. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for now.